Thank you for joining us on Overcoming the Objection. So, what do you say when people ask you on the street or in your travels whether your faith involves Jesus Christ? Do you take offense to that? Do you try to set them straight? This is an opportunity to set the matter straight, particularly when you don't exchange gifts or you decide to hold off on gifts exchange at work, and people want to know what to categorize you, what faith to put you in, so that they can observe it. Now we're non-denominational Christians of the way. So yes, we believe in Christ because Christians is in that name Christ. But at the same time, our knowledge or more go deeper than most average Christians out there. And we are evangelizing Christians. So that is very important that people get that, because they often ask, what are you? You're evangelizing Christians, and your organization or is the way. And the reason why it is the way, because it's what it was in Isaiah. It's what it was in Paul's day. They were called the way. The early Christians were called the way. They weren't called Christians at the time. They were called the way. So you took the name from the earlier Christians in the Bible. That's all it is. So, and the organization's name is Yahweh's. But if anyone asks, well, what are you? You're the way. So it's taken from the scriptures in Isaiah that says, walk in it, you people, neither veering to the left, veering to the right, walk in the way. So, years from now, we may change that social media name to the way, but to make a distinction, whose way is it? Yahweh. So it's spelled Jai apostrophe S, way, but because the social media doesn't allow the apostrophe, is Yahweh, is Yahweh with an S. So how do you answer? How do you answer this question when people are definitely troubled by different situations around the world? There are 14 million people who are suffering just from long COVID that haven't recovered back into the job market yet. And there are young teens still dealing with high costs of medical bills, dealing with long COVID that involves blood transfusions, physical therapy, which was trying. There's a lot of discussion about the Affordable Care Act, which took care of a lot of burdens when COVID came around, with that, with the debilitating effects of COVID and the amount of people that were in the hospital recovering from COVID. One hospital visit from COVID cost close to $1 million. Yes. Okay, and unfortunately some of them did not get to make it. So, so when people ask questions in regards to your faith and why don't you exchange gift, um, make sure you make your assertions known and find out more about the reason for that question. It might surprise you. So even though it's a question coming from someone at work because you don't participate in gift exchange, or a family member is like, you're still involved in this? I thought it was just a phase, or your baptism wasn't really a baptism. Such a question like that, or accusations like that, or statements like that, take it as an opportunity to assert your faith and allow people to find out about your faith. Because you have a foundation all the way into the earlier Christians' way, all the way, mentioned all the way in Isaiah. You have a strong foundation. And those are people who earnestly, every single member earnestly strives to do Jah's will. No veering to the left or to the right. They suffer just to do Jah's will. And they want to do this just to please God, just to please Jesus. So I think that's what you need to come across. But how do you come across this at work through the scriptures when there are other competing faiths out there, you know? And particularly in a time where you have to be careful what you say and what you do, because of the war in Israel and Hamas had made things a sticky situation to discuss someone's faith at the workplace. And, you know, someone will try to report you even though they're the ones who broached the question. Why don't you do gifts exchange or so? Take it opportunity to say, I'll let you know during lunchtime. When is your lunchtime? You know, in the meantime, you're praying, you're listening, you're asking questions, and ask them. Other than gifts exchange, was there any reason else why you wanted to know? They might surprise you. They might say, my aunt used to belong to such and such, and I just thought you might be the same. Set the matter straight. This is an opportunity to set the matter straight. Oh, I don't know. I just thought that, I just wanted to know. I'm just curious. Okay, well that leaves you to answer certain questions and also to pose some of your own questions as well. She's curious. The person is curious. So it leaves you an opportunity to allow them to know more about God's intentions, you know. So use that as an opportunity. So when you come and see this individual at lunch or away from work, or when they're both at break, when no one can accuse anyone of using office time and space to talk about religion, you have covered yourself and you're discreet in what you're doing, so that you can have this conversation, and in a very honest and personal way. Still being mindful that you're still talking to someone who is an employee or at work, or someone with standing in the office. And you might custom your answer a little bit differently when you're dealing with a family member. We're pretty much the same. But just be frank and honest in your discussion. And go ahead and say, yes, I believe in Jesus, but gift exchange doesn't necessarily impart something that is attained to my same faith as Jesus. There was a reason why Jesus got gifts on the day of his birth. And you can point to that. You can point to that in Matthew. And you can let them know, most texts talks about astrologers, but they were actually zoologists. Those who took study of the scriptures, who were waiting for the prophecy of Christ, Emmanuel, to come true. And so once they finally found Jesus at the stable, which also was also due to prophecy as well, in Matthew chapter 10, 11, and 12, we see here that when the zoologist came into the house, they saw the young child with Mary, its mother, and falling down, they did obeisance to it. They also opened their treasures and presented it with gifts, gold and frankincense and myrrh. However, because they were given divine warning in a dream not to return to Herod, they withdrew to their country by another way. So this is Matthew chapter 2, verse 10, 11, and 12. And it does two things. It tells us, yeah, you believe in Christ. And two, it also, the reason why Jesus was given these things, because it was prophetic, and also because a careful research was done, because he was the supreme God son. What you would do for a normal, typical king and queen birth, you would present them with gifts. And so this is the reason why gifts were exchanged for Jesus. But other than that, you have no problem giving gifts, any other day of the week. It's just that's not something you do in observance of this particular holiday. So it has nothing to do with you not observing Jesus Christ, not believing in Jesus Christ. Yeah, you're a firm believer of Christ because that's the foundation, that's my rock, that's my foundation of faith. So, and Ja'ala brought forth Jesus Christ so that it be instrumental in building the foundation of other people's faith. So, be clear, be honest, and would you like to know more? Use that opportunity, on how, like today's talk, Jesus Christ had to conquer a lot of his personal inner turmoil growing up as a supreme being. Would you like to know more? And how would we find that information out? Yeah, you find it in Psalms. You'll find it in Numbers. There were so many times the interaction between Jah and Moses. How Jah saw himself heated up because his people were kept on doing their own thing despite the many miracles, the many signs. They were just hard-headed. And even during the time when they were presenting him into the land, flowing with milk and honey, even Moses had to say, these people are going to err, they're going to sin, and this went on for 433 years until, Ja'ala turned his back away, until they paid attention, still turned his back away to people, but still turning his attention through those servants of Jah, like Daniel, who went on to rebuild the temple that led into the foundation, coming to Jesus, so that when Jesus was on the earth, He was in the temple, trying to set things right. But ask them, would they like to know some more? And use it as an opportunity to show Jesus, and because Jesus was watching the whole entire time, the interaction with Moses and Jah, just learning human nature. Because Moses was the first human interaction besides Adam and Eve. Taking a personal look into human interaction besides Adam and Eve, and Moses was the one that Ja'ala considered as a friend, because those frank, honest conversations. So these are the stuff that you need to tell someone, so that they want to know how this relationship builds, so they can build their own relationship with Jah. And the only way they can build their relationship with Jah is they get to know the text. And so something like that will sway them to consider having a conversation. And you can start anywhere. You can start with Moses in Numbers, or you can start in Psalms, or you can start with Matthew, or rather Genesis, where it all began and why Jesus was so necessary. And Genesis chapter 2:17, and then Genesis chapter 3, 1 through 15. So these are, pivotal times, but these pivotal times are moments that people let their guards down because they see a lot of distress, particularly when you see human rights violation. So we're going to close right there.